Now coming in at number one, and this is why he's in my top 5 of all time. A lot of people dismissed me. A lot of people said I was crazy. A lot of people like, what? This is why. This is one of the reasons why he's top 5 for me all time. Number one is no other than the What's going on, Spurs family? Welcome. We got a new video. This video is going to be quite fun because we're going to be going over Eddie Bitar story where he's listing the 12 most players, the 12 players with the most All-NBA team and all defensive teams combined. So this is going to be fun because it shows how dominant players was at the peak of their powers. So this is gonna be fun. But before we start, make sure y'all like, comment. Yeah, so y'all can just do a drive-by. Y'all don't even have to subscribe. Y'all can just do a drive-by, right? Just come in, look, peep, like, and get out of here. You don't have to stay, but I'll welcome you to stay. If you want to stay, you can stay. But I do welcome drive-bys. So if y'all want to do a drive-by, just come enjoy the video and leave. That's all good. So let's get started. So at number 10, we have Gary Payton with 18 total. Gary Payton was one of those guys who can get it done on both ends of the floor. Obviously, his defense was well known around the league. You know, that's why they call him the glove. But he have all NBA teams. He have 9, and that's 2 first team, 5 second team, 2 third team. That's not, you know, that's not bad at all. And then you have all defensive team, which is 9 first team, 9 first all defensive. So as you see, I want y'all to notice the consistency here. This tells me that he'd been a two-way player from the jump, or he had the potential coming in as a defensive player who also can score the basketball. That's consistent. That means at the peak, when he was doing this thing, he was doing it on both ends. And you're going to see a lot of times where some players will come in and they will learn how to play defense, or they'll come in as a defensive player that learn how to score. So you see the consistency there, and they all NBA teams and all defensive teams is a bit lopsided. And you probably see a couple on this list. Let's go through it. At number 10, the Admiral, tied at number 10, the Admiral with 18. We all know he's one of the guys who, you know, was freakishly athletic. I mean, I never seen Wilt Chamberlain play. Maybe and the world probably really didn't see Wilt Chamberlain play because in those times the basketball game wasn't broadcasted. It wasn't as big. I believe around time Magic and Larry Bird came into the picture. That's where the game got popular. You know, the Showtime Lakers and Larry Bird kind of, you know, popularized the game to where now was broadcasted on every TV, and then Michael Jordan just took it to another level. But they said Wilt Chamberlain was freakishly athletic for his size, but David Robinson was one of those guys who everybody got to see because the game was popular, became popular, and everybody got to see how talented not only how talented he was, but how athletic he was to be that big, to be able to run the floor, to jump that high, you know, just explosive off the floor. And he was one of those guys, and I was glad to watch his games as a kid growing up. So he has all NBA teams. He has 10, 4 first team, 2 second team, and 4 third team. He has 8 all defensive teams, 4 first team, and 4 second team. And as you see the consistency there. You see the consistency there, 10 and 8. So during this peak of his powers, he's always been that player that can get it done on both ends of the floor. Karl Malone, the mailman, one of the greatest power forwards of all time. He obviously one of the greatest scorers of all time. Karl Malone, him and John Stockton worked that pick and roll to perfection. Like, you know, They really the masters of that pick and roll, pick and pop. But yeah, he has his All NBA teams. He has 14 of them. He have 11 first team, 2 second team, and 1 third team. In all defensive teams, he has 4, 3 first team, 1 second team. So you see the dip there. You see this is not really consistent. So he wasn't really the best of the best defenders at the peak of his powers. Not saying that he was a bad defender, but he wasn't, one of those guys that was at the peak defensively. So it's either he developed and became one of the best defenders in the league, or he just stopped playing defense during later years of his career. So, but now y'all see what I'm talking about. It kind of gives you not the full story, but a little glimpse there. At number 9, John Havlicek. Well, he's before my time. He has 19 total All NBA teams. So All NBA teams, he has 11. He has 4 first team, 7 second team. All defensive teams, he has 8, 5 first team, 3 second team. I really never watched him play, but they say for a career he averaged 20 points. He was very tenacious on defense. They said his on ball. He has a tenacious on-ball defense, quick hands, anticipation, allowed him to generate steals, disrupt passing lanes, and contribute to his team's defensive schemes. So this sounds like a guy who got it done on both ends of the court. Again, this is before my time, so I really can't speak much on John Havlicek, or I'll be lying. But let's move it along. Number 7, we have Chris Paul. And as y'all notice, these numbers, this is how they got it. This is how they wrote it, so I know it's kind of off. I said the top 12, and he started at 10, and you have all these ties. Like, it's all they could have did this better. But number 7 is tied for number 7 is Chris Paul with 20 total NBA teams. So with all NBA, he has 11, 4 first team, 5 second team, 2 third team. With all defensive, he has 9, 7 first team, and 2 second team. So as you see, it's consistency here. So he must have been a tenacious defender, which he was coming out of Wake Forest. And he was a guy that always could play defense. And also, we already know how good he is being a floor general on offense. So Chris Paul, to me, is one of the top 5. I think you got to put him top 5 point guards of all time. I don't see that many point guards better than Chris Paul. So you have Magic. Everybody gonna go with Magic and Curry probably as their top 2, no matter how you want to slice it. You have Isaiah Thomas. You have Jason Kidd. You have John Stockton. I'll probably put Chris Paul above John Stockton. I'll probably put him above Jason Kidd if I'm being quite honest. He can do all the things Jason Kidd can do. He can run the show, but I think Chris Paul was a better scorer. I really do. I think Chris Paul was a way better scorer and way better defender as well. 7 first team all defensive and 2 second team defensive. That kind of shows it. Number 7, you have tied at number 7. You have Michael Jordan, his airness, the GOAT. Is it the shoes? But yeah, this is kind of surprising. To a lot of folks, because you expect him to be much higher, but no, he's not. And you got to respect what it is. So all NBA teams, he has 11. All defensive teams, he has 9. He has 9 first team, all defensive. So his 9 all defensive team was all first team. And for his NBA first teams, he got 10. And for a second team, he got 1. So most of the time, he was first team throughout his career. And you see the consistency there. 11 all NBA first teams, 9 all defensive teams. He came in knowing how to defend, and also we already know what he can do on offense. So it gives you a glimpse. It probably don't tell you the whole story, but it gives you a glimpse, of if they came in and they developed defense or offense, or did they come in learning offense and was always good on defense, or vice versa. You know what I'm trying to say. Tied at number 5. I told you how you go from 7 to 5. I'm telling you, this guy Eddie kind of could have did this better. So yeah, because it just went from 7 to 5. I don't understand. But tied at number 5 is Kevin Garnett with 21, where it should be 6. Like that's a typo there. I don't know. So Kevin Garnett has 9 All NBA teams, which 4 of them was first team, 3 of them was second team, 2 of them was third team. He has 12 All Defensive teams. 12 of them, meaning 9 of them being first team, 3 of them being second teams. Again, the consistency there. You see the consistency. 9-12 is not 14-4. You know, came in the game knowing how to play the defensive end and came in the game knowing how to play the offensive end. You know, you got to love these players. These players is the players that win you championships. So we already know about how the Kevin Garnett career panned out. He was stuck down there in Minnesota, where they wasn't serious about winning. And once he got on a team that had players around in Minnesota, before he went to Boston, once he got a good solid team around him, they went to the conference finals. They lost, but they got to the conference finals. And once he obviously went to Boston with talent around him, he delivered the championship. So that should show you that throughout all these talks about the best players of all time, this is a team sport at the end of the day. So when we talking about who's better than who, we can't really bring championships. I hate the championship argument. I always hate the championship argument because championships is won as a team. You can be good all you want. You could be good all you want. You could be the most talented player ever. But if your team is trash, you're going to lose. You know, if your team is trash, you're going to lose. So I just wanted to put that in perspective, that this is a team game. And once Kevin Garnett had a team, he delivered the championship. Wondering what they was doing down there in Minnesota to where they didn't give him a supporting cast sooner. Number 5, we got the Dream, Hakeem Olajuwon, 21 total. So he has 12 All NBA teams, and he has 9 All Defensive teams. 6 of his All NBA teams was first team, 3 was second team, 3 was third team. 5 of his defensive teams was first team, 4 was second team, and he's often one of the greatest centers of all time. He's on that list. He's on that top 5 greatest centers of all time list. I mean, Hakeem was just one of those special players, that one in a lifetime players. Unstoppable on the post, can do it all. Moves. He had more moves than Michael Jackson on the dance floor. The guy was just phenomenal. Averaging around 20 points per game over 13 seasons. So the guy was just fantastic, and I'm not surprised to see him on this list. At number 4, we have LeBron James. Some says the GOAT. Some people call him the GOAT. 25 total All NBA, All Defensive teams combined. So he have 19 All NBA teams, 13 of them being first team, 3 of them being second team, 3 of them being third team. All Defensive team, he has 6, 5 of them being first team, 1 being second team. Now see the consistency here. And LeBron came into the league knowing how to play defense. We're not going to act like he's not somebody that learned how to play defense. He could play both ends of the floor. He had that potential. But in the beginning of his career, he really wasn't, he really didn't get that. He wasn't there defensively yet. Middle of his career, he got there. His later years and not his later years, but in his beginning, like towards the end of the decision, he started becoming more better defensively. He started getting it there on the defensive side of the basketball, and then from that point, he was one of the best defenders in the league. Then a decision happened. Obviously, he had good defensive years in Miami, and he started to tail off. And remember, he played the game. He played the game probably. He's been in this game for like 20 years. So a little bit of his inconsistency is the beginning of his career, where he wasn't there yet defensively, and towards the end of his career where he's just too old to be able to do it both ends, so he had to sacrifice to be able to play a whole entire game. So that's why I said it tells a little bit of the story. You got to know the player. You had to watch the player to really understand. But in most cases, it shows that that sometimes people tail off defensively. Some people learn how to play defense. So it tells a story there. And we all know LeBron James in his later career, just like every player that came into the history of the game, later in their career, they're not really that good defensively because they're trying to conserve energy. They're not really giving it they all on defense. You got to keep up with the young guns. So that's why I see this as really not consistent. Beginning of his career, he wasn't really that great defensively. He had the traits to be a great defender, but he wasn't really, top tier defensively coming into the league. And then when he did, get it on the defensive end, he was one of the best defenders in the league, if not one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. And then obviously he got old, and now you got to conserve that energy. So it's kind of like a roller coaster for LeBron James, or some say LeGoat James. But anyway, number 3, we have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with 26. Some people say he's the GOAT. I ain't going to act like I don't hear the noise that people say Kareem is the greatest of all time. Let's get it straight now. The guy won in every level of basketball there is to win. So you got to give him credit, right? So all NBA teams, he got 15 of those, 10 being first team, 5 being second team. All defensive teams, he has 11, 5 being first team, and 6 being second team. I really didn't see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar play because by the time he retired, was I born? I was born 89. Yeah, I ain't see this guy play. If I did, I didn't remember it. I was too young to remember. So I really didn't see this guy play. But a lot of old timers would say Kareem was that guy. He was one of the greatest scorers of all time and one of the greatest defenders of all time. Look at the consistency. And it's probably easy for big men to keep this consistency, but throughout his career, definitely at the peak of his powers, he got it done on both ends of the floor, and you got to commend him for that. Number 2, the Black Mamba. The Black Mamba. Probably the most fiercest player that ever touched the game next to Michael Jordan. I'm getting parched. This video is going longer than I expected. But yeah, it's kind of cold. It's coffee. I don't want to even sit here that long. But yeah, cold coffee is just. But anyway, 27. He number 2 at 27 total. 27 total. All NBA teams. He got 15 with 11 first team, 2 second team, 2 third team. All defensive team. He has 12, 9 first team, 3 second team. You see the consistency there. Again, I'm always point out the consistency. He was good coming in, playing defense in the peak of his powers, and he was good scoring a basketball. 2-way player. That's why Kobe Bryant is one of the greatest players that ever played a game. And some got him number 1. I mean, he's not number 1 on my list, but some people probably got Kobe Bryant as the greatest ever. But how can you argue with numbers with consistency like that? Not many times he was second team all NBA. Not many times he was second team all defensive. So you can't argue that. You can't argue it. Now coming in at number 1, and this is why he's in my top 5 of all time. A lot of people dismissed me. A lot of people said I was crazy. A lot of people like, what? This is why. This is one of the reasons why he's top 5 for me all time. Number 1 is no other than the big fundamental, the silent assassin. What other names do he got? Many. Tim Duncan. 30 total. All defensive, all NBA. Let's look at this. 15 all defensive, 15 all NBA. 10 first team all NBA, 3 second all NBA, 2 third all NBA, 8 first team all defensive, 7 second team all defensive. Come on. How he's not in your top 5 of all time? How is Tim Duncan not in your top 5 of all time? I don't even have to give you the accolades. I don't even have to give you that. I don't have to. But how is he not in your top 5? How is he not? How? He won like 1,000 games and lost like 300. Come on now. Come on. How? I want y'all to put in the comment section, if he's not in your top 5, tell me how he's not. Tell me how he's not. If he played for Los Angeles Lakers, he'd be in your top 5. If he played in New York, he'd be in your top 5. If he played in any big market team, he'd be in your top 5. I mean, what more do you have to do? That's my only explanation. Because San Antonio was a small market team. But if he was broadcasted everywhere, all in the national commercials, out there in Hollywood, he'd be top 5. People probably put him top 3. He was up there in New York, on a billboards up there in Times Square. He'd be top. He'd be. Some people probably put him top 3. If he did what he did for San Antonio and New York, who haven't even sniffed the championship since what was it, the 80s or 70s? And it's a big market city. I guess people don't want to give Tim Duncan the respect. But I'm gonna make sure Tim Duncan get his respect. Look, Timmy, you probably ain't watching this. You probably somewhere surfing somewhere. You top 5 in my book. How can you refute the numbers? How can you ignore the numbers? Like, who did it like him? Who did it like him in a small market? Name one small market superstar that did what Tim Duncan did. Y'all, a lot of people don't want to give Greg Popovich his credit. So when y'all talk about Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, you know Tim Duncan won his second championship. When he won his second championship, Tony Parker was like what? He wasn't in his prime. He wasn't Tony Parker that y'all seen in 2006, 2007. Go back. Y'all don't know that necessarily Popovich wanted to trade Tony Parker for Jason Kidd. Ginobili wasn't the Manu. He was a great role player, but he wasn't Manu that we know him as. So, just give my man his credit. Give him his credit. Give Tim Duncan his credit. So, with that said, that's my list. Hope everybody, enjoy the rest of their Thursday. Make sure y'all leave y'all comments of what y'all think. Peace and blessings.